Alright. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to say, Kalaim La Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Arakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone who do rule and teach well, as well as all honors to you brothers out there on the highways and byways, you brothers that are in Great Millstone, as well as you brothers that are not in Great Millstone, but you follow the same doctrine of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. It's a young brother here, Shamash One, reporting right out of Ithaca. And I want to get into Wisdom of Solomon, the 12th chapter. Mostly focus on the first 5 verses roundabout. I go into some precepts, a little history, and then I got a funky little website I want to show off. So Wisdom of Solomon 12:1, for thy uncorruptible spirit is in all things, right? Because the Lord, for example, right? The Lord controls everything, as we know. And the Lord's going to put a certain spirit on those missiles so they can hit their target. And the Lord is going to put a spirit on those missiles and make sure they hit their target. None of those missiles, when World War III pop off, are going to miss. They're going to go right to where they need to go. Therefore, chastise thou them little by little that offend, and warnest them by putting them in remembrance when they have offended, that leaving their wickedness they may believe on thee, O Lord. All right? And that's talking about us, the Lord's mercy towards his people, Israel. Right? Verse 3, for it was thy will to destroy by the hands of our fathers both those old inhabitants of thy land. Alright? Talking about who the old inhabitants of thy holy land, right? What's the Lord's holy land? The land of Israel, right? And those old inhabitants were the Canaanites, right? And the Lord brought hornets on them, right? He brought, us with the sword, and we use our weapons to take them down to, kick their asses. Of course, we didn't make a complete slaughter like we were supposed to. We didn't finish the job, but we were taking them out, and we got that land, which we had for a certain amount of time until we started going off. The Lord brought these nations against us, slavery after slavery, leaving that land, so on and so forth, and then eventually, rise of the Renaissance, fall of the Dark Ages, we lost that land entirely. But I'm not going to get into all the history because there's times where we were fighting against the Muslims, and the Muslims were in that land. We were having various wars with them. There was times they had that land, and times we would fight them back, so on and so forth. But we really got taken down, big time with the fall of the fall of the Holy Roman Empire, fall, or the end of the Dark Ages, rise in the Renaissance, which means rebirth, rise of Edomite rulership. Revelation, the 20th chapter. Read like the first 2 verses. That'll break all that down for you. It's not really difficult to understand, right? Verse 4, right? Whom thou hatest for doing most odious works of witchcrafts and wicked sacrifices. So let's look at that word odious. Okay, odious is unpleasant, repulsive, right? And that's what those old inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, were doing. They were doing revolting, repellent, repugnant acts in that land, right? As we just read, right? Odious works and witchcrafts, man. All right. I think I read it already. This is like a second take. I just wasn't happy with the first one, right? But let's just go read it, right? So we got the word odious, but let's go read the scripture, right? Wisdom of Solomon 12. Oh man, shit. Wisdom of Solomon 12:5, and also those murders, merciless murders of children. Oh, hold on, right, verse 4. I didn't read verse 5 yet. Yeah, whoops. Whom thou hatest for doing most odious works of witchcraft and wicked sacrifices, right? Where those wicked sacrifices and wicked witchcraft, so it's going to get more into in the 5th verse also, and also those merciless murders of children, and devours of man flesh, and the feast of blood. Okay? So this is what they were getting down onto, man, those Canaanites, man, for doing most repugnant, right, most repulsive works of witchcraft and wicked sacrifices, and the Lord hated them. All right, the Lord hates all these nations, man. The only people that the Lord loves is His people, man, the nation of Israel. All right, and He's really looking for or looking after the hopeful elect, man. Because 2/3 are gonna have to be cut off and die, and there's gonna be a great slaughter of wicked Israelites all over the place, because that 2/3 is just here in America. Right? But you Israelites that are wicked on this side, you're gonna come back in the kingdom and you're gonna be righteous. Okay. So right, and also those merciless murders of children, and devours a man flesh and feast of blood, right? So merciless murders of children, right? We're gonna get the Moloch. I'm gonna get it in Leviticus, the 18th chapter, right? And devours a man flesh and the feast of blood. What is that, man? Cannibalism, because that's another thing that we're getting into too. So I just want to maybe bring out certain things. I have a funky website, with a goofy ass name, but the website is actually really good, despite the name. But let's get into it. All right, Leviticus 18 and 20. Moreover, thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife, to defile thyself with her, right? And neighbors is amayaf, right? So neighbor, associate, fellow. All right, so you're not supposed to sleep with thy neighbor's wife. All right, what's marriage according to the scriptures? Having sex. So if your neighbor had sex with a woman, right, and that was his wife, you are not supposed to lie with your neighbor's wife and have sex with her too. Right, that's wicked. That's called adultery. All right, you're not supposed to get down like that. All right, and it says neighbor. Now, just because it says neighbor, that doesn't mean you can do that with the heathen. Like take a heathen's wife, right? A heathen's wife while he's still alive. There's certain things, right? If the man's dead, then you could take her. But women's supposed to only have two man limit, right? 2-man limit according to the scriptures, right? But if a man, so let's say if you see like an Edomite couple, and the man go to buy some ice cream, he turn his back, you don't have the right to go holler at his woman. Just applying it to today. That's fucking wicked. All right. Verse 21, and thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech, right? Odious works in witchcraft, right? Talking about children too, all right? Neither shalt thou profane the name of thy power. I am the Lord, right? So profane, outside or before, right? Something protruding. Or you can say, they say like the word proactive. Like you make an action before something happens, right? Proactive, right? And fane goes back to phanes, which means temple. Which I think all this goes back to like Greek or Latin. When you go into the etymology, right? But it just means something outside the temple. So you're not supposed to bring things outside the temple or to do things outside of worship the name of the Lord. Okay, and that's including using fake names such as Yahweh, Yahuwah, Jehovah. That's all profaning the name of the Lord. And you're not supposed to do that. Alright. Verse 22, thou shalt not lie with mankind as a womankind is abomination. And as you notice, all these things that you see here, they all go down in the world, man. You could have a fucking like a so-called girlfriend and she fucking other guys, or you can be walking out and you can just be going about your day. I dealt with that a little bit today, right? Going about my day and then someone fucking, checking you out. You're just thinking in the back of your head, this girl probably has a fucking boyfriend and it's a Sabbath, so leave me the hell alone. You know what I mean? But you'll see that too. Like I'm not gonna say I've dealt with it, but maybe actually I have actually, where like I know, maybe not such a crazy example where a guy is with this girl and then the girl like makes it look at me, but I've seen it with girls that like I have other guys like try to make passes at me or some shit, and I ignore that shit because that's fucking wicked, and I know, all right. But I know other brothers talk about that, right? A woman will be with another guy, some beta bucks, beta bucks, beta male provider. And then this girl will make a look at them, looking at other dudes, man, and that shit's fucking wicked. And that goes on heavily in America. It's off, right? Right, and then you have this one too, right? Even when you can really go into all this stuff was going on in the world, right? Especially here in America, right? Sex in the period, right? And the fire to Molech, that's abortions today, right? And you even have the brother from Holland. If you look up the brother's name, GMS Holland ZX, I don't know the brother's Hebrew name, unfortunately. But I remember one of his channel names was Quadazop, so maybe that's his Hebrew name. But that brother, he posted a video about bioethics, which is basically just recreation of eugenics, the eugenics movement, right? You had the American Eugenics Society, I think that was the name of it, in like the 60s roundabout. And there was Edomites out there that were actually talking about, and those researchers that work for them were talking about how they want to start having things you can kill a baby after it's born, right? Or infanticide. Right? Abortion is killing the baby when it's as you say, not even, or killing the baby before it even comes out, before, which it already has life in it, right? You're not supposed to do that, right? But that's what it is, man. Abortion is like killing the baby like 6 weeks, I think, right, before it like really starts to form. And then infanticide is like what they say when the baby's already formed. And both are murder. Okay. I actually want to go into this one now, right? Thou shalt allow any beast to defile thyself therewith, and there shall a woman stand before a beast to lie down there too. This confusion, right? And that goes on down here in America. Verse 24. Defile not ye yourselves in any of these things, for on the nations are defiled which are cast up before you, right? These Canaanites, right? Said the Lord brought hornets on them. Thou gave us that strength and power to go take them out, beat the hell out of them, right? And the Lord hated them. Right? He had hatred towards them. The Lord has hatred towards you nations today, after your odious works of witchcraft. And so all these things you're reading about, odious works, and these are the things that they were getting down into. And the Lord is saying, don't do this. Right? I'm gonna cast you out. Because that's eventually what happened anyway, right? Verse 25, right? Verse 25, right? And the land is defiled, therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it, and the land itself vomitheth out her inhabitants, right? Exactly. And you can really apply that to Numbers 35 and 33, right? All the blood in that land, man. All the child sacrifice. And that land was defiled, man. Then of course we started doing the same thing. Then we defiled the land. And you defile the land through that blood, and through those witchcraft, through those ceremonies. Alright. So let's get a little bit more stuff. I'm actually gonna get this article and then I'm gonna leave it at that. Alright, so ignore the name of this website, right? It's called gaychristian101.com. Alright, now this is just the name of the website. Right? Don't try to pull no bullshit trying to say that we're gay. Right? It's just the name of the website. The website's actually really good. I'll actually give this warrior some credit. Alright, I'm trying to be peachy here because I don't want to get the video yeeted off of YouTube, man, and booted. I want to start posting a little bit more on YouTube. But if it does, I don't really care because I'm posting on Odyssey too, right? As early as 1450 BC, right? Moloch was the ancient Canaanite fire god. As early as 1450 BC, as they wandered in the wilderness, Israel was worshiping Moloch even before they entered the land of Canaan. For that reason, the Most High and Moses prohibited Israel from worshiping Moloch in Leviticus 18 and 21 and 22, 3, 4, and 5. Now, I think when you go into that, right, we picked up certain things in Egypt. So, you could very well be correct on that, right? Let me see here. We don't need to go into that. There's something in here exactly that I want to get into. When you go into it, Moloch was also called Cronus, where you get Kronos, right, in the Greek. I'm pretty sure there's a connection with that, right? With Kronos, like these Greeks, they call him Kronos, but that all goes back to Moloch, and Moloch goes back to Satan. All right, but we're not going to get into all that. We have Arstrith. Yeah, here you go. And all this stuff goes into it, right? So the sexual relationship between these false gods set an example for unbridled sensuality among their worshippers, right? And that's what it goes into, right? Really goes into the mystery school system and how the rituals are supposed to be a recreation of pretty much false mythologies. All right, so Moloch represents the male principle of life and reproduction, while Arstrith represents the female principle of fertility. And that goes to show you how backwards these witchcrafts and all these knowledge on the left hand is. You know, these things represent fertility and life, but yet they bring death and you know, offer up their children to it. And you see, this is a artistic recreation of it. You know, offering up their child, and then you have the fire come out. And this thing is still around today with the Bohemian Grove. Right, so, all right, so that word, right, bhati stuff between male and male worshippers and male and female worshippers was viewed as an offering to the goddess, right, which the scripture says there should be no sodomites of the sons of Israel, right, which the other part talks about that there should be no whore of the daughters of Israel, right. So the first part, right, sodomite means one who commits sodomy, right, which really means someone who comes from Sodom, right, but you know, applying it to the other meaning, right, because Sodom was known for sodomy, right, which you know what that is, right, bhati boy things, right. I'm trying my best to keep it parental guidance out here, right, PG, okay, but you know, you're not supposed to do that stuff with men or with women, okay, which that stuff is heavily pushed in this world, right. And that's the other works of witchcraft that they were doing. They were getting down like that, man. What you're reading, what we just read about Odious works of witchcraft, and then the shit that they were getting down onto, that shit's real, man. They were really doing that. All right. And this article, which brings it out, which is not just this article, there's other websites too that go into this. This is what they were doing, man. That's why scriptures like that are there. All right. Some 50 years after Leviticus, the Apostle Paul references pagan worship in Romans 1:26-27, right? Which we all should know that one, right? Men burning their lust towards another, right? When he blasts the same kind of fertility goddess worship in first century Rome, and that's real, man. All right. The Moloch idol was a large hollow brass statue with the head of a bull and the bulging belly of a man. It was designed like an old-file pot-belly stove, with the belly as the firebox. A child sacrifice laid on the hands would roll into the fire in the bell cavity. All right, scriptures describes practices passing through the fire to Molech, Leviticus 18:21. All right, so damn, man, that shit's real, man. You know, you can really read the rest of this stuff because this is a pretty good article, man. I mean, I think this guy has other articles out here too that are actually pretty good. You know, but you know, if you could ignore the title, it's an alright site. But let's go. I was thinking maybe get something else. I think I'll say that for another lesson. I'm actually just gonna leave it off here. Alright, but the will and you edify. Shalom.